In the last lecture, we talked about using the distributive property to multiply out the product of two polynomials like I've got right here. And that's great. It works. It's absolutely the technically correct way to think about what we're doing. But as a practical matter, it can be a little cumbersome. Right? You've got to multiply, you've got to write 3 copies of a plus b minus 2, and then carefully distribute and watch out for negative signs, and it can be a mess. Now, there is another method that I'll use to do this that I think is more efficient, right, and a little more organized. And I also like it because it actually is very similar to the method you learned all the way back in like 3rd grade for multiplying two numbers together. Right? So here's how it works. I'm going to start by writing this a little more like that 3rd grade multiplication problem. The first number on top and the second number on the bottom. Now remember how you did that 3rd grade multiplication. You took the first digit, you multiplied it by each of the individual numbers, and you wrote that down below. That's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to take 1 and I'm going to multiply it by -2. I'm going to take 1 and multiply it by b. I'm going to take 1 and multiply it by a. Now I'm going to move on to the next number. I'm going to go to this next variable. I'm going to go to this -b. I'm going to do the same thing. Now, when you're doing this back in 3rd grade, you had to be very meticulous about what got put under what. Not quite as big a deal here. Right? Because in the end, we're going to add them all together. It's going to be a combining like term situation anyway, no matter what the order is. So I'm going to do -b times -2. That's plus 2b. I'm going to do minus b times positive b. That's -b squared. Now I'm going to write that over here. I'm not going to put under the a because you don't have to do it this way, but I like to try to kind of line up the like terms as I go along. Right, now finally, -b times positive a is -ab. And now we do it one more time with the a term. A times -2 is -2a. Notice I'm writing that under the other a. A times b is plus ab. And a times a is a squared. Now, I'm just going to combine my like terms. Right? And because of the way I've organized the columns, that really just means adding down. So I'll bring down the a squared. ab minus ab, that's 0, minus b squared. Now we'll combine the a and the minus 2a. That's minus a, 2b, and 1b is 3b, and minus 2. And there you go. Right? That's my answer. Ended up with, if you're welcome to double check me, try doing it with the distributive property. You should end up in exactly the same place. Some of you in previous algebra class, you may have heard of this thing called the FOIL method. Now, I'll tell you honestly, I am not a huge fan of the FOIL method. It's a nice little shortcut, but the reason I don't like it is that it only works when you're multiplying two binomials together. If one of the two factors is bigger than a binomial like we had here, then it doesn't work and you've got to fall back on something else. Well, the methods that we've talked about both here and in the previous slide, those don't have that drawback. They work for any two polynomials, right? So with that said, the FOIL method does get talked about a lot. Right? It is popular with a lot of people. So that's what we're going to stop and take a look at in the next lecture.